Welcome to the program, ladies and gentlemen. One of the famous writers of all times is the English poet William Wordsworth. In one of his lead poems in 1802, titled My Heart Leaps Up, otherwise known as The Rainbow, he wrote, I quote, "The child is father of the man," end of quote. Paradoxical, but true. This means that an adult's personality, his values and character are fundamentally shaped by the experiences, habits, and emotions they developed during childhood. The leakage of the 2026 General Certificate of Education GCE examination is not a new phenomenon in Cameroon, but the banner and widespread circulation of questions and questions papers with snapshots as we saw them circulate is a big scandal. With the mindset of William Wordsworth, children whose experiences, habits, and values are embedded in fraud will end up as corrupt, fraudulent, deceitful, and misguided adults in any human society. In such a context, the child will be a bad father of the man. Thank God the able and courageous Minister of Secondary Education, Professor Nalo Valyonga, the clean school policy precursor, the clean mind builder, has taken an acclaimed decision, reschedule the rest of the examination while investigation take root. The child is father of the man. Why would a man fraudulently line up scores of children on the state payroll or for their own benefit? This is a whole scam uncovered by the Minister of Finance. And again, council taxes will not be collected by the councils, call them municipalities. Shouldn't reason calm down the hard law? With a keen eye, we should discuss all these issues on the program today. I am Kilian Dandifon in Yaoundé, and this is Press R. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining us. If you are just joining us right now, this is Press R, and we are broadcasting live from Studio 4 of the CRTV Production Center here at Balatu in Yaoundé. We have two topics for you. I just talked about them. Council taxes collection. What is the issue that the councils do not have to collect their own taxes? And again, we have family allowances, fraud, a phoenix story. We're asking this question. A phoenix, of course, you know, is that bird that dies and regenerates from its ashes. This is a lifelong, it's something that goes and comes. We are asking whether this story one day will end. And to talk about these topics today on Press R, let us welcome Lucas Teneng Chefo. He is the editor-in-chief and the publisher of the Reporter newspaper. I want to welcome you, and let me also welcome our own Theodore Njamsi, who is an economist. He is a consultant in decentralization. I also want to recognize your presence here, Chief Nasako, His Royal Majesty. I should state it this way, because not all chiefs are Royal Majesties. Nasako Daniel Molondo the Fourth, you are the chief of Molondo Mbo Barombi, and then you are also a researcher in decentralization and governance. Thank you, gentlemen, for coming. We are waiting for two other guests who are held in town by traffic that will be joining us. We are talking about Christian Nga Christian, who is the publisher and editor-in-chief of the Guardian Post newspaper, and we're also talking about Terence Sa, who is an expert in development, media development. At this moment, we're going to invite Angela Mbo to read the newspapers for Press R. Angela.
Government's renewed stance against violence tops on the press even as governance and social affairs feature. The warning against perpetrators issued by the Minister of Communication and Government spokesperson, Rene Emmanuel Sadi, and reported in Cameroon Insider, announces strictest sanctions. According to the publication, the statement was made in the presence of his colleagues from the related ministries. This, as Echo Outlook highlights the surge in reported cases of sexual violence, noting that the Bar Council has created a dedicated legal unit to assist victims of rape. The publication informs its readers that this initiative aims to improve access to justice and legal protection. Cameroon Tribune weighs in with a condemnation of the National Episcopal Conference on the recent wave of violence made during their sitting in Yaoundé. The bishops, the paper notes, have denounced the attacks on human dignity and called for collective responsibility in addressing the situation. Meanwhile, developments on the Martinez Zogo case continue to attract widespread attention. The media report on dramatic scenes at the military tribunal in Yaoundé, where footage related to the murder was presented in court, leaving the audience visibly shaken. The same scenario of shock and tears is relayed in Cameroon Tribune with details on an expert account on the new twist in the case. Cameroon Tribune also shows interest in another case of incivility. The National Bilingual Daily highlights hate speech as a persistent issue, noting that it continues despite existing legal and administrative measures. The publication also examines the possible causes of this behavior and explores potential long-term solutions to address it. Some optimism in the Voice newspaper, which carries efforts to promote peace. The publication highlights the recognition of Professor Willie Brods Dengwa, who has been awarded for his advocacy work and contributions to peace building, both within the national territory and across international borders. Further to this is the publication of the new award harvested by Ntumfo barrister Nico Halle. This is detailed in the Guardian Post that presents the recipient of the decennial Trendsetters Award in recognition of his long-standing commitment to peace and the fight against corruption. Municipal Updates also reports on the honor, noting that the award forms part of his recognition for years of public service and advocacy. In the same light, the Guardian Post reports another distinction with Professor Victor Mbarika, recognized as ICT academic and digital visionary of the decade for his contributions to the field of information and communication technology. Onto local governance with a report by the Herald Tribune on the closing of the Northwest Regional Assembly's March session. According to the paper, authorities outlined progress in financial management and presented development plans aimed at accelerating decentralization and improving living conditions. And even as the June session of Parliament opens this week, Footprints magazine in its 23rd edition spotlights Honorable Mary Meboka, tracing the career of the Vice Speaker of the National Assembly back to her constituency in Dian Division. Honorable Meboka's contribution shares the pages with those of her colleagues, including Honorables David Mafu, Simon Kumasi, Muhammadu Mahdi, and Dr. Julius Fonge, as documented in Footprints magazine. In a preceding edition, the magazine published an exclusive interview with the Director General of the Southwest Development Authority, Dr. Ogok Besong, who explains how government has stayed the course of development input even in the midst of the socio-political crisis. The same edition also features the outings of Ministers Ashim Masika III. Column of Footprints magazine. Sunday next on what the papers would have said.
Thank you so much, Angela. You watch, you listen to the press review, as I did, gentlemen, and there is this, what some people are calling something which no one should tolerate, no one should condone, the leakage of the GCE, the General Certificate of Education Examination, the GCE, that the minister in charge of secondary education Professor Nalovo Aliyunga has taken that bold decision to halt everything, suspend as investigation goes on. Well, when we say suspend, it's reschedule the exam that will start from 2 weeks from now. Teneng, Lucas, when you heard that this is what was happening, what was your reaction before you go to the decision that the minister has made?
Killian, I was very, very flabbergasted to know that instead of people struggling, children struggling to prove what they have learned all the year long, they are looking for unorthodox methods to get examination papers. But I've not blamed the children so much. I've blamed those who are handling examinations that have been very careless about it, and that led to leakages. And I was suspecting this could happen because of the new information and communication technology, that most children are very, very versed with it. They can hack even the server of the GCE board and get answers and get questions before time. So I knew that this was going to happen. What I'm interested in that you have asked a second question is the measure that has been taken by the minister to reschedule the exam. But then, what is the guarantee that the same malpractices will not repeat? It's a bold step, but what is the guarantee that the same malpractices will not be repeated by those who maybe for some pecuniary measures have taken money from students here and there, organizing even holiday classes, and had to leak the exams? I'm very, very disheartened because I know children who are writing, and their parents who had scheduled that their children were going to write within this time and this time. And that time they had provided resources for their children to write examinations, because most of the children who are even writing here, some of them are not even here. Some have moved from, let's say, Anglophone regions that are in crisis to come and write the GCE here.
Yes, but Lucas, is good to write honorably and pass than maybe to get confused in the leakage and probably people who do not deserve pass while you are there.
No,
well,
I'm totally against. I'm totally against the leakages. I'm totally against cheating in any examination.
Yes.
Because I have seen people who have been favored by cheating in place of those who have actually studied for the examination, and others just cheat and get away with it. I'm totally against it. So I'm happy that the exams have been rescheduled. Those who have studied, those who studied will pass. Even the rescheduled exams in 1 year, they will pass. But those who were counting on fraud, and maybe because they had these examination questions before time and are prepared, most of them will fail because they don't deserve it.
That is the point. Christian, welcome. I know it's traffic that held you downtown. The traffic, we were disturbed by the same traffic. You are welcome.
Thank you, sir.
Yes, Chief, just to say welcome to Christian. Christian, we're talking about the examination leakage. The GCE leaked badly. If one were to borrow from an American president, leak bigly. When did you write the GCE, Chief? Because you apparently you are an elder.
I wrote the GCE in 95 for the O levels and advanced level 2006. This issue of fraud, I don't know what I can say because my former school, GBH, I'm the first batch of GBHS. The principal that we had, of course, was my aunt, Madame Christina Beseka. It was no good zone. How come that cheating takes place in GBHS?
No way.
No.
It could not happen.
How come? So
yeah, you know that when we look at you, the way you look, we just, because you are a Royal Majesty, we give you that age. But Lucas Teneng wrote it maybe more than 10 years before you.
Yeah, I wrote my O levels in 1986 and had my advanced level in 1988.
As if I knew. About 10 years before you. That's what we are talking. We are talking about the GCE leakage and condemning why it happened, Christian, and applauding the decision that the Minister of Secondary Education has taken promptly on time.
Yeah, I think, sorry for coming late, first of all. The good news we have is that we have a no-nonsense Minister of Secondary Education. In the past, we've had leakages that sometimes they allow the exams to go through. But you know, permit me to say that the current Minister of Secondary Education is somebody who believes in objectivity. But again, and I like what she's doing, first of all, for the image of the GCE, which of course, we are all aware that Anglophones hold very dear to their heart. But again, I think questions have to be raised, and investigations have to be carried out, and I'm sure sanctions have to be followed so that it doesn't happen again in the near future.
It shouldn't happen. I'm coming to you, Theodore. I should share what I know with you. I was with one of the superintendents who had, I think, about 30 rooms, and 30 rooms contain so many students, who told me that they actually discovered it, traced the students, and saw question papers on snapshots on the children's phone. Before, we used to think that you will see one question that has leaked. In short, the question paper as it was produced on a student's phone. The student has the question paper 2, 3, 4 hours before the beginning of the exam. Now, this can only come from the producers of this. Those are the first suspicions that we have.
We have to go probably at one point deep, or to the drawing board to really see where our problem is really coming from. Yeah, we can solve the effects of a problem, but you always go to the root causes of a problem. If you solve the effects, the problem will still resurface. The minister took a very bold decision. I look at the work of the majority being betrayed by the works of a few egoistic people, selfish people. It's really betrayal. Look at the students who really give in their all to get what they deserve. Because there are children that, even if you show them those papers, they wouldn't even look at. First thing, look at what the work the teachers have done. The invigilators, the chiefs of centers. You talk of a superintendent, the transitional team, the liaison officers are all whatnot. And just for a few people to just come and bring everything down. How these people really get this stuff is really something that really has to be deep. And there is a need for synergy, that everybody should be involved.
Well, since everybody cannot be involved, I go back to you, Christian. Christian is someone who is the publisher, editor-in-chief of a newspaper, and is independent in the production of his newspaper. Now, one of the solutions could be, since the chain of production of the GCE examination is so large, I think one of the solutions, I'm calling you because you are so independent, there's no way your papers will stay in somebody's printing press for 1 day, 2 hours, because you master that. Maybe the the ministry or the GCE board should have their own printing press, so they don't go out and then enlarge the chain of production.
But honestly, it would be really shocking for me to hearing from you that the GCE board does not have a printing press. I mean, and of course, how much does it even cost to buy a printing press?
That I cannot say, but
but I'm saying that if for an exam like the GCE, we are still taking it to commercial printing houses, it's a shame. It's a shame because, like I said, if a small newspaper like the Guardian Post could afford to buy a printing press as far back as 2016, and you are wondering why the GCE board should not even have a printing press so that they will handle the exams internally, so that at this level we can know where the leakages are coming from. So
I think that should be one of the solutions.
That should be one of the solutions.
Not actually, it's not a shame, probably.
No, it is. It is
they did not think, they trusted the people with whom they have been working.
It's like,
maybe.
you said it already, Mr. Moderator, because if I have to take the Guardian Post every day to go print elsewhere, a lot of things happen between the office that I leave to go and print and where I'm going to print. Sometimes you may, even in the 90s when I worked for the Herald, there were days that we were almost arrested by the time we were finishing printing because they called the security to tell them that we had a story that was going to set the country on fire. It cannot happen with us today because we print ourselves, and before the security start looking at us, the paper is already out.
Yes, I think that should be the first solution to this. We limit the production chain of the examination papers of the
And this is where
GCE.
the Ministry of Secondary Education now has to come in.
Come in immediately.
Immediately, yeah.
And we know, like you said earlier, like we are all saying, Professor Nalova Lyunga has started it. She has gone through digitalization in so many areas. This is not one area she is not going to do that. Now, we're going to recognize the arrival of Sir Terence Animbom, journalist, country director, media and democracy. We also know that you were held back on the road by the traffic. You're welcome.
Thank you very much, Kilian. It's a wonderful pleasure to be here on the platform.
And we are going to get out of the comments on the leakage of the General Certificate of Education examination and the prompt decision by the minister in charge with you. When you heard that that's what was happening, what were your feelings?
Yeah, my first feeling, Kilian, was that the minister, did the right thing at that particular moment. It was necessary to put a hold to the exams, try to put the things that are not going right well before the exams continue. You also have the issue of the length of time it is taking and the cost of that decision to the parents of the students that are writing exams. We're wondering if it's not going to be at a much higher cost to them. But not to belabor what has already been said by the other panelists, there is a need for the GCE board to adopt more stricter standard operating procedures with the printing of examination papers. Leakages like this should really not happen. It is embarrassing, and it discredits our examination systems. It makes it look like we are joking, and there is a need for more stricter standard operating procedures before the printing press starts. Who does what is happening, and you will be shocked that people sell this for huge money to make money, and you'll be shocked that even some schools are involved in
the investigation is on.
Well,
and what we know is that there are administrative sanctions. We also even have not only to talk about legal sanctions in general, but penal sanctions. The penal code has provided sanctions for those who cheat, including public examinations. And I think the sanctions should be applied in this case strictly.
Strictly.
And be a deterrent to whoever wants to do that in future.
Absolutely.
Yes.
I think there's one thing we must say here. We have this culture of investigations being carried out, and tomorrow you don't hear what happens. Maybe because A or B who is involved is related to one big man somewhere. We are praying that this should not happen. And thank God the private press is already aware, so we would keep pressing until those who are involved are exposed, but not only exposed, but punished to serve as a deterrent.
Yes, that is your role as the gatekeeper. The press is the gatekeeper. You play that role, but you are also playing that role in front of someone who is unbendable when it comes to being strict, respecting principles. We will certainly not wait to see the sanctions come.
Dormitory student, is it from dormitory or day schools? The leakage?
The leakage was general. The leakage was general. When the examination is going on, students go to different centers, and then the day schools join with dormitory schools and the rest. So you cannot indict, you cannot go to dormitory.
Platforms, WhatsApp, and everything is monetized.
It's monetized. So
and look at the people who are doing this. You will be ashamed.
Yes. So no, they will be ashamed. As we say, we look forward to having the sanctions, and the sanctions, the law provides for that. Administration provides for that. We are going to go in from one fraud to another to talk about the family allowance, where you have a discovery by the Ministry of Finance of so many civil servants who swell the payroll of the state with children, ghost children, and they have been receiving the money unduly. The figures are as of about 2 years ago in 2024 were about 500 and they've stepped out to about 500,000 to about 1 million or something. I'm going to get the figures right. This also is an area that we have to look at, where parents themselves are in fraudulent situations in the country. So what could spark this type of thing, and what should be done by the Ministry of Finance when they actually get to the end of their investigation? I'm beginning with Chief Nasako, who is a state worker.
You see, everything bounds to management. This issue of family allowance, parents bringing birth certificate of children here and there, I think the Minister of Public Service is handling, from what I worked there for 3 months, and nearly all the departments. I think this issue of managing personnel, the Minister of Public Service has a very big role to play, maybe in that area. I'm sure the family allowance, all the documents are forwarded to the Minister of Public Service. I'm sure they prepared the files, and they said to the Minister of Public Service, I said they started processing the documents from there. So but we have to first of all start looking at.
Yeah, not only from there. Once you are employed, most of the things that you do, they go from your ministry to finance.
Yes.
Because you have this integrated, computerized, integrated management of the payroll.
Yes.
Most ministries have direct links when they pass through the public service with finance.
Yes.
So you can file those certificates fraudulent from your ministry without passing necessarily through the public service to finance.
How do we identify them as fraudulent? Because we have many registration centers now. Because of decentralization, the government has made things easier for people. So you see, sometimes if the government wants to be harsh, people say the government is harsh. When the government wants to be liberal, many things begin to occur. The government has said registration centers should be all over the place to ease the administration. But people use those centers now to do fraudulent things.
Exactly.
Let us find out the birth certificate of the children. If they have made the council, if they are fraud, they start reading from where that document is made.
You are very correct.
And maybe chiefs should also play a role in that, because if a child is born in the house, the people will know, the chief will know that this person, if he has 5 children or 10 children, the chief will know that this man in this community has 5 children. But if you go in the public service, you go and submit 12, 13, they have to ask that family, the chief, where the mother, they look at, they compare the names, and compare, even though some can adopt their children from different mothers and bring back. There are mechanisms that the government can.
And there's a way of getting that straight. The Ministry of Finance is planning to send an audit or different audit teams to be deployed across the country to verify the birth certificates declared and the actual situation on the ground. That is the measure that the ministry is going to take, and to remove all fraudulent declared children from the state payroll and recover the funds, whether they are going to use compulsory measures. Maybe they just cut since you work.
Kylian, I have a question.
Yes, let me just give the figures, and then I give you the floor. The figures I said I was going to give you from June 2024 to March 2026. There are an increase of 55% in less than 2 years. And in June 2024, there were 5,904. That is 5,904,728 to 9,000. No, it is 5,000 to 9,000, excuse me. That is from 5,000 in 2004 to 9,000, over 9,000 in 2006, making the state to spend from 21 billion in 2004 to 38 billion in 2006. These are the figures. They are alarming. Yes, Christian, before I come to the economist, because I know he's the one who's
Yeah, I
going to
think
situate us on this.
it's really alarming, and that just to tell you how rotten our society is. And when
How rotten some people are in our
Not
society.
society. The society is not
well,
rotten.
but
It's the people who are rotten.
that is first of all just to tell
Some
you
people.
how endemic corruption is in this country.
Yes.
That I still have the feeling that even the issue of sending an audit team to the field, I was asking myself here whether the people we are going to send to the field to audit will be Cameroonians or bring some experts. You know, I give you an example. Permit me to divert a bit. To tell you how it is going to be even difficult to fish out a fraudulent birth certificate. You take the example of the mining industry, where you have a company that is supposed to protect the state resources and send people to track those who are in illegal mining. They go to the field and they encourage them to do illegal mining, declare this number of gold and give me this share. So it is the same thing that will happen with this audit team that is going to the field. I'm not being pessimistic.
No.
They will get there, excuse me, sir.
Yeah.
They will get to the field, discover the fraudulent birth certificate, but I bet you, if they have this our generation and they're giving money, they will close their eyes.
Well, I expected you to suggest a solution.
No.
Given that you
That's why
know
I'm
that
saying
some
that
of these people...
if we have to, it is a good thing. But again, the first question is, how did we get here? Because we've taken a long time to uncover this fraud. Does it mean that we didn't have a minister or the people in charge who could have been more keen not to? Because it is late and it is easy to say that they will recover the money. Do people steal money and keep?
It is easy because they are civil servants. Once you are discovered as a corporate, your name is on the state payroll. Even if you are already retired,
yes,
the ministry still gives you money.
What about those who have stolen the money and died?
Well, their pension also goes on. Please, let me clarify that point.
I'm just saying
I will allow you to continue. Let me clarify. Yes. Once you do that, you may have assets. There are so many means the state can recover if the state wants to recover.
No, what I'm just saying is that
I wanted you
more
to
vigilant. When people are appointed to positions of responsibility, they have to play their role. There is something in this country called the civil service mentality. People just do what you call a lip service. And honestly, this should serve like an eye-opener to those who appoint individuals in this country.
Advise the minister.
I think the advice I'm giving now
to the Minister of
Finance and even to the head of state, let's dig deep into the private sector and you see the performance in this country at all levels.
Okay, thank you. Now, this is an economic issue. I'm going to come to the economist here, Theodore Njamsi. When you look at this fraud in family allowance economically, I'm not just talking about the figures. What is the impact that has? How do you economically explain this?
We have a situation where the country is struggling to mobilize resources to achieve its great programs. We talk about NTS 30 and hope we drive towards Vision 2035. And every resource, every franc becomes so important in that case. We borrow to finance a lot of projects. At one point, the Autonomous Thinking Fund talked of about 14.4. That was, I think, September last year. That's trillion that the country is owing. And when we start having these billions entering illicit pockets and things of that sort, or these billions being channeled to sources that or heads that are not really due, it becomes an issue. We look at it from a broader perspective, and the state of the economy, probably at one point the salaries, but at one point we look at the aspect of integrity. It's not as if everybody who has a number of children normally is a culprit. But if there is a way that this money can be recovered, to channel them to the right sources, to investment projects that can really improve living conditions in the country, that would be better. Because it's something that, it's type of cat and mouse, not really cat and mouse game, but you say men have learned to shoot without missing and the birds are flying without pitching. It keeps resurfacing. Why can't you just have a permanent solution to this? Being rigorous about these aspects, how we try to eliminate this type of aspects. To go back to what documents do we really need to apply for this family allowance? Let's take a case of a birth certificate. Is there no way we can digitalize? We can go back in a way that somebody cannot jeopardize, cannot play over a child, claiming that I have this child, whereas I don't have, and things of that nature.
The process is on.
It has to be rigorous.
Yeah.
If not, we are losing a lot of billions in this aspect of corruption or this aspect of money being paid where it's not due. Those who deserve it should have it. Those who don't deserve it,
How much
well,
did we recover from the civil servants who have absconded but are still earning?
So much money.
multiple accounts have
Yeah, so
But
much
if
money.
we go out, not be made
So
public.
much money. So much money has
I
been
mean, for
recovered.
those who already were taking that money, that salary without working, how much was recovered from them? Because it's easy to sit here and say that the money will be recovered. Honestly, to me, it is a pipe dream. I think what we have to do is to put in place more stringent measures, beginning from the civil registry, because that's where the fraud begins.
Well,
the
he's saying
source.
it begins from the civil registry. I think that it begins with the parents, because they are parents and their accomplices who sit to do this. What do you say?
Well, Killian, when we say it begins with the parents, it's an issue of conscience, you know, and it is difficult to conscientize people who have decided, based on the challenges they are facing, based on the difficulties they are facing, to get other means to make money. I think that it comes back to a state responsibility. We are in the 21st century. We are talking about digitalization process and all of that. In the 21st century, we're talking of ghost workers in a country where small technology, digital applications can be created by young Cameroonians who are super brilliant to be able to track down the data in every district hospital. There are computers in every district hospital. I don't think there's any hospital in this country that does not have access to electricity or even a solar system, or if there isn't. Those are small things that can be easily done, and it becomes easier to have data of children born in every municipality, in every district hospital, with their DNA and everything entered into the system, such that when you start getting even birth certificates coming in the names of these children, there should be some codification that you know that you can track back to this hospital, this is where this child was born, the date, all of those things. This is also because when these birth certificates are brought to the Ministry of Finance, there is no due diligence.
Exactly.
No due diligence is done. They just go ahead. And in fact, people in the Ministry of Finance are very much aware of this system. They know that this is what is done. They know that this is how money is collected from the state. So we cannot be talking about digitalization and thinking that we need to send a team to the field to go and start doing another kind of census. We just finished the population census just ended. I don't know if DPO was counted, because I was not counted, Killian. And I know so many other Cameroonians that were not counted during the census, you know. So it is funny. So there are things we need to take note of and know that we are moving into a technology. We are in a technological era, and things should be more effective. That's
now, I will start from you, Christian, to Chief Nasako, and to Theodore. You gave already one suggestion. If you have another suggestion on how this can stop, because the question we are asking on this family allowance fraud is it a phoenix story? A phoenix is a bird that regenerates from its ashes. You rightly pointed out, so many of you, this has happened before. It is happening now. We are asking whether it will not happen again. That's why I don't have any problem with your question, with your doubts. Now, what are the solutions? That's what I want to know from you on the set. Beginning with you, Christian.
Yeah, I think a co-panelist already said it, that we should digitalize our civil registry as much as possible. You know, and then this civil service mentality, the syndrome of civil service mentality, has to be urgently dealt with in this country, because civil servants, permit me to say it, for most of them, they just believe that when you're a civil servant, the only work you have to do is to wait for your salaries at the end of the month. So people who are put there don't do what they're expected to do.
Well, some people, because I know civil servants who are really, really committed. But we have taken your point.
There's a difference between putting 2 hours at work and being 2 hours at work.
Yes, but there are people who are putting 2 hours at work.
And being there.
And being there, yes.
Okay.
I can tell you, I come to the office.
I did not say all civil servants.
I come to the office, I'm expected, and I come to the office at 9. And I leave the office
and you can see
9 a.m. I work, and you go back home and you know that I work. You listen to the reports, and I have administrative work that I do. And we leave the office by 9 p.m. That's when the news in French ends. So you can see there are so many people who work like that.
No, you work well.
Well,
At least
no,
for
there
you.
are so many of us in the country, but there are bad ones also. Yes, Chief. Solutions, that's what we're looking for.
Mr. Anda, the civil servant, the accusation you have put on civil servant, I want to tell that is just want that mentality because they are civil servant. They just accuse us, but they are civil servant. You know what my boss do? He come to work my president office, Konsupi. My boss come to work at 6 o'clock and leave the office at 8. So I even the staff, I even like, what is this man doing in the office? So there are civil servants. It's true that they said in the common language, one cocoa spoiled or what, something like that. But it's not just what you are thinking. There are people who work. Now, looking at this issue of birth certificate, we are saying, let us look. Who are the people collecting family allowance more in public service? Yeah. Who are the people who submit documents or the birth certificate for children? So if the government wants to use a proposal, my own little small proposal, if the government wants to trace out, investigate, I think women don't lie. They should consult, because when they say they say child birth certificate, they look, they see the mother name, they see the father's name, they can call to the mother. Is this child? When did you have this? They call women. Actually, women can play a role in solving this situation of fraudulent birth certificates that are going to public service.
Thank you so much. It's a solution.
Because mothers will never lie.
At one point, you have it that
what if some mothers do that themselves? I'm not saying that they have done that. Anyway, that's just a question. That's just a question.
There are also women who are involved in this. Like
okay.
There's been the issuance of free birth certificates. So the campaigns for parents to have birth certificates. We realized at one point that people find it easier to just maybe 15,000 francs or whatever, give a middleman and you have this. Whereas there are things like this, you call them this non-conviction, that they will say you go back to your subdivision. That's how it used to be. From there, they're able to issue it. If you can have a case where you can really like make it difficult for people to just have these documents at will will be better. Then let's try as much as we can to, crack down on these situations where people can just fill documents into the public service without, I think this is attestation or somebody really just, there should be ways that people can track who has this child and things of that sort. So it goes back to the birth certificate. Who really owns that child?
Now, before you bring your own point, I would like that you answer my question. Or you move my idea forward. What about sanctions? That is, anyone caught doing that, if the person were sanctioned in a way that they would be like stepping on the railway for a train to come, you know what happens to you. Will this not stop?
Yeah, Killian, sanctions are deterrents to acts, but sanctions at times might not be deterrent. Let me develop it this way. If you have a bag of groundnut, then you see a rat enters that bag of groundnut. You sit and fold your arms, say, finish the groundnut. When the rat finishes the groundnut and you kill the rat, what have you gone? You've gained nothing. What am I saying?
Has it gone that bad?
What am I saying? I'm saying that this issue, if you look, there are two professions. This issue of fraudulent birth certificates and family allowance, there are only two professions that are really involved. Two professions. I don't want to call them there because I don't want to stigmatize. Yes, I don't want to stigmatize. There are two professions that are really involved. Somebody, I know my grandfather was polygamist. He had the highest he had was 40 children. But a civil servant who is not up to 50 years having 83 children is scandalous. And the issue is, I would think the Minister of Finance, I would plead with the Minister of Finance to get to the roots. The root cause is not even those, because the people who are bringing these birth certificates are exploiting the loophole in the law. Because if the law could say you cannot have more than 5 children in the payroll as for family allowance, and for any child to be to earn family allowance must show certificate of scholarization that the child is registered in a school. At least when a child is registered in a school, it has certificate of scholarization. You bring it and produce it and prepare and present it. Now, the civil service registry. Why can't we make sure that our civil service registry is connected to the same system that people, when you have a child, it is already there. They know that child has this number. This is the birth certificate number. When you come and present it to the Ministry of Finance, they just cross-check from their computer, say, okay, this child is existing. No person can it. You have one mother, the name of the child, the father, the same mother, and the difference between the child is 6 months. The difference between the child is 3 months. It doesn't make sense.
Okay.
It doesn't make sense.
And they let it go.
And they let it go. So those who are even imputing this information need to be sanctioned. They need to be sanctioned because they are the people who are permitting it.
That's why I keep insisting that we have to defeat that civil service mentality.
It needs to be sanctioned. And I can understand most of these people. I think the economy, my immediate economy is so much so that people want money and they want quick money. And if there's any loophole anywhere, people exploit it. I think most of these guys are exploiting the loopholes in the because if they are said, the law that governs family allowance says that when the child is up to 18 years, it goes out.
Yes, exactly.
Goes out of the family allowance.
Yes, exactly.
Which means that if you are a civil servant and you are 25 years, you enter this purpose at 25 years, you know you can bring 4 children up to 40 years. But somebody who is going on retirement, see bringing children of 2-3 years to put in the civil service payroll for family allowance.
Well, the problem may be that the person is bringing many children, but if it's that the person is bringing children, there are people who have children at 60.
Yeah,
and
I'm
even
not
at
refusing
70.
that. I'm saying that people go. I say there are 2 professions. It's not. I don't want to.
Yeah, no, do not.
Somebody goes to the village and picks the children of all the sisters, all the brothers, and consider them his own children. Those children have their real birth certificates, but you go and fabricate birth certificates everywhere. So that's why I'm saying that if a civil service registry, because there are people who are just there fabricating birth certificates and they come, nobody cross checks. If a civil
you mentioned something of a village. Okay, that's what I said. You go to a village to go and collect rent for a sister. That's why I said that this is a start. You start from the village. They go to the village because in the village they will quickly identify when they ask the chief how many this man like this, how many children does he have. The chief will clear it. If it's in the quarter, they will know if this lady is pregnant with this man or this man. They will know it because when you go and present all those things at the civil security register or whatever, it is not their duty to checking whether you are the child, but when they see the record,
and this
they will do it.
This is the plan of the Ministry of Finance. As we stand, audit teams will be deployed across the country to verify the birth certificates declared and the actual situation on the ground. They are talking about the village. So I think that the ministry is already working in line with what you are saying.
Yeah, what you said is what I think should be done as a deterrence.
Yes.
Is that all those who have been caught, I know most of them are still civil servants, but if they say, okay, we're going to deduce all what you've consumed for this year.
That will be done. You can be sure that that will be done.
But this can have this. The flip side of this. Most of them who have already collected money, you see, you're going to deduce, most of them will not come to work. So the production too will drop.
No, they don't come to work. They lose the little that.
But you're collecting even the little that he's going to have. So why do you think he should come again?
So are you saying?
Measures to control if you are working at work or not?
Be allowed to
no,
somebody's salary has been blocked too.
There are ways. If the law should not be so brutal in a way that it will penalize, because most of these guys have benefited from the loophole of the law.
No, the fundamental.
Yes, the law had no ceiling.
The fundamental principle on which the law works is that the law is hard, but it is the law. They should go for that.
It is not retroactive. The law too is not retroactive. Are you saying that people are going to go backwards and say somebody had a birth certificate in 2002 and...
No, in the case of corruption and fraud, it is retroactive.
It's very simple.
Yes.
In my opinion, if anybody is found guilty of one thing, I think imprisonment terms should come in.
That's good.
For retroactivity, as you are saying, see, this one is not a new law. This one is a way. These are criminals caught.
Yes.
It's not a law that has come out today. These are criminals caught, and then they will be judged by a law that dates back some time ago. So that retroactivity of
cracking down on those who ate this action, those who are found guilty to have collected.
I say the Phoenix will look for a way to get the money back.
The deal with it. The thing is that Cameroonians are so daring. I enjoy it when he said when they would arrest or they would penalize, it would serve as a deterrent. But my only fear is that we have people who have been jailed because of embezzled state funds, and the people who have come to that office are even stealing more. So let's see how we get out of it.
That is really bad.
And close the networks that exist that get those type of things so easily.
We had, unfortunately, because of the GCE leakage that we brought into our discussion, we may not be able to treat the other topic because we don't have time. But for 5 minutes, we'll just go around the table to talk about this, because it concerns the local authorities, the councils. That's when we talk about decentralization, that's where we expect that the powers should be devolved. But now, the central taxation system that is going to collect the council taxes and then sent to the general treasury, and it's from the general treasury that the taxes from the council will go back to those taxes. That is what the joint action by the Ministry of Finance and Decentralization has taken. We're just going to kind of make a comment on this. How effective is this in terms of decentralization? We'll start with you.
Yeah, in terms of decentralization, I would think mayors think that they have been trapped. Why do I say so? Because it appears as government did not know how to get to local taxes. Government asked the mayors to develop means of getting to local taxes. When the guys came up with means of getting to collect local taxes, government decided to take it. And say budgeting at local levels, it goes, budgeting is projections. They go in years. Some mayors have budgeted these taxes with projects and have started projects, and the projects were supposed to continue for so many years. Now they've taken the money to the central treasury. And taking the money to the central treasury, the central government does not have the same priorities as the local government. A mayor might have the priority of constructing a route here. That is not what the central government has. So it has an impact on it. But the flip side of it is that what? For 2 years that, because it was 2020, for 2 years that they gave the taxes to the local councils, government has seen that there have been no significant improvement in local governance. There have been no significant improvement.
Actually,
let me land.
Yes, please.
There have been no improvement.
We don't have
more mayors have become more. They have improved on themselves than improving on their municipalities, because. Take for example, a market is a market. There are tools in the market. You don't know how much is collected. You don't know where it gets through, how much gets to the treasury, and how much gets into the pocket of the mayor, and all those type of things. So government wants to control all this. I think it's the best way for government to control money. But the problem is, for government to redeploy this money to councils might have a delay.
Yes, I'm going to call on Theodore, who is an economist, to say something. But before he comes in, let me say the little I know about this new move. It's not actually a law per se, it's an application of a law. It is the councils had never, by the law, been given the authority to collect these taxes they were collecting. The law actually says it's the Department of Taxation that should collect this. Now, if I make a mistake, you are a specialist in this domain, you tell us.
You moved on 2004, 17, 18, 19, the laws on decentralization too. If you go to 2018, the General Code on Decentralization, local governance. What you find there is that you're talking about that aspect of, you look at the budget of the council, right? Talk of general decentralization grants or support. They talk of the taxes. The government supporting these decentralized entities in two ways. You have either the grants, you have the taxes. Or they say both. The taxation part of it is that you realize, if you look at the administrative accounts of councils, you realize that they find it difficult. What they budget and what they realize is always a problem. They find it difficult to really collect these taxes. Other councils, I will not want to cite those councils by name, but you realize that they're doing a lot, but they always have this challenge. I think government steps in there to see how it can make this tax drive efficient. It's not all the taxes that are covered. There are some tax categories that the government, through its what they call the architecture, comes in and tries to help collect. These taxes, from what we get, there will be a level of compost, and the whole thing is to ease the disbursement of this money back to the councils. It's about efficiency, which most of us believe that is going to improve revenue for the local tax revenue for local governments.
If it goes back from the central treasury.
Central treasury through the account will be at Campos, so that's what we get. They have the municipal treasury, and they have their management accounts that they come out at the end of the year.
They are supposed to be, or are you are just stating what he said?
Supposed to be lodged at the campus.
Yeah.
At the campus, that is what that's what we know at the campus there. To ease collection, they say the Directorate General of Taxation will not be involved in, disbursing the money itself. It's campus that does that. That's what we get.
Okay.
And lastly, it's not just about this one. Is an aspect of the tax revenue that the councils collect. There are other aspects that we also believe that when the councils grow their economy, whether it's the regional or the local council, municipal council, they grow their economy, they'll be able to mobilize revenue enough to achieve their objectives.
Like which? Because what we see in this journey...
You have ACOM loans that come in there. You have what you used to call the council twinning that comes in there. You have even the charges that councils do collect that comes in there. You have support from maybe associations, NGOs, and all whatnot. You have even PNZP that has been instrumental in this. If you go to a place like Campbell, you will look at that Otejeville, that town hall. It was funded by UNDP.
This is what I hear. Other levies and royalties that will still be connected by the taxation department. Under here, you have business licenses, you have market dues, you have parking fees, you have livestock. In council, you have livestock, a lot of it. Tourism and advertising. Tourism is like restaurants and the rest. Yeah. So when the taxation department collects this, what else would the council collect?
The council, you have this what they call this building levies that the council has building permits.
How many people build? Well, I will come back.
There are other
Chief,
local tools
please,
that you have.
And
last is that in some cases that you've had, like a case of a cock some time ago, this thing was even decentralized that private institutions could collect and have a quota that goes to the council.
Please, Chief. I don't know how you will give your contribution in 1 minute 30 seconds.
1 minute 30 seconds.
Yes, please.
Okay, see, Mr. Killan, as somebody who's involved in this decentralization process, I've worked with the council for close to 7 years. Even at the level of the governor's office, I was in charge of councils. Till now, I've carried 12 internships in councils and almost 6 research in my PhD in councils. The action the government has taken now is 100% correct. Because councils now, their focus is money from decentralization. Before decentralization,
but is it not their right?
Yeah, it is their right. We are talking now on local funds, local taxes. Before decentralization, there were mayors who were using local finances to develop their municipalities. Roads, funds from hygiene and sanitation were used to construct public toilets. In the days of Nokombele, Bagemakia, road from town planning, restaurants, specialized establishment to construct streets and other. But now, remind that if those people were still there now, they meet the issue of decentralization with much money, our cities would be a parado.
Yeah, I agree with you. Yes, 1 minute, please. 1 minute, Christian.
Yeah, I think I've had the opportunity to talk to officials at the taxation department, and from what I've gathered, and some financial experts, mayors can be crying that they have been deprived of money which was meant for themselves, as Teneloka said.
Misuse the opportunity given to them.
The government gave them the opportunity, but development did not follow as much as the taxes they were being collecting, or they were collecting. Now, government has decided to say, okay, we would collect this money on your behalf, give you a percentage, and do a follow-up on how you are using this money.
Thank you so much. Yes, 30 seconds.
Okay. Yes. The issue is
I think this is an issue of transparency and accountability.
Yes.
Like Christian said, if mayors were collecting this money and actually carrying out work in the communities, it would be a good thing. But the truth is, let us also not dismiss those mayors that are doing a great job, because now in trying to punish the 7 mayors of Yaoundé and Douala, if you put it together, about the bulk of the resources of the revenue this country raises comes from these cities, which means that there is already so much that they can make money from. But if we go back to the other local councils that are less privileged, because the flip side of this is that it could also help to boost the revenue of the other councils that are less privileged. For instance,
I like that. No, we'll not go for example. We don't have time again, please. Our time is up. Our time is up. Our time is up, please. Our time is up, and I just have to read this communication, this press review that comes from the Ministry of Secondary Education. The Minister of Secondary Education hereby informs candidates, parents, school administrators, examination officials, and the general public that the government has approved the rescheduling of the remaining papers of the ongoing GCE examination session. This decision follows a working session with the head of the transition management team of the GCE board, during which she acknowledged the circulation of confidential examination questions through electronic means and social media platforms. The minister also collected evidence of leakages which she has handed over to competent authorities for investigation. After a thorough assessment of the situation and in consultation with the competent authorities, the government has concluded that exceptional measures are necessary to preserve the credibility, fairness, and integrity of the GCE examination. Consequently, the remaining papers were originally scheduled to take place from Monday, June 8th to Thursday, June 18, 2026, shall be rescheduled and administered from Monday, the 22nd to Thursday, the 2nd of July, 2026. The time slots remain unchanged and the TVEE exams are not affected, that is technical and vocational training exams. Candidates are advised to remain calm and continue with their preparations. Heads of examination centers, school administrators, superintendents, and other examination officials are instructed to cooperate fully with the measures the government is putting into place in cooperation with the GCE board to ensure successful outcome with the GCE board to ensure successful outcome of the examination. Investigations are ongoing to identify the source of and extent of the security breach and to ensure that all persons found responsible are brought to account in accordance with the law and applicable regulations. The government is fully aware of the inconvenience caused here. However, preserving public confidence in the examination system and ensuring equal opportunity for all candidates remain paramount considerations. Done at Yaoundé on the 6th of June 2026, the Minister of Secondary Education, Professor Nalova Lyonga, PhD. And it's on this note, ladies and gentlemen, that we come to the end of today's edition of Press. I just want to thank the panelists for coming, and thank you for being there with us.